I'm Margaret Chen, 78 years old, and for 2 years my grandson Kyle drained my bank accounts, stole my jewelry, and convinced my family I had dementia so he could control my finances. He told everyone I was too confused to manage money while he bought sports cars and took luxury vacations with my life savings. Kyle thought he'd found the perfect victim in his elderly grandmother. What he didn't know was that I was only pretending to have memory problems to document his theft. I'm a retired criminal prosecutor who spent 35 years sending con artists to prison. This is how I caught him stealing $300,000 and destroyed his entire life. Subscribe now. Hit that bell so you never miss stories like this. I'm Margaret Chen, 78 years old, and 2 years ago, I realized my 26-year-old grandson Kyle was stealing from me. Not small amounts, hundreds of thousands of dollars over 18 months. Kyle was my daughter Linda's only child. Linda died of cancer 5 years ago, and Kyle became my closest family member. He visited weekly, helped with groceries, drove me to appointments. I thought he genuinely cared about me. Then I noticed money disappearing from my checking account. $5,000 here, $8,000 there. When I asked Kyle about it, he said, "Grandma, you approved those transfers. Don't you remember? We talked about investing your money." I didn't remember any such conversation. I checked my savings account. $60,000 had vanished in 3 months. "Kyle, where did my savings go?" "Grandma, you're forgetting again. The doctor said you're having memory issues. That's why you gave me power of attorney, remember? So I can help manage your finances." I had never given Kyle power of attorney. But when I checked my safe deposit box, there was a notarized document with my signature giving Kyle complete control over my finances. I hadn't signed it. Kyle had forged it. Over the next week, I discovered the full extent of his theft. Kyle had stolen jewelry worth $80,000, emptied my investment accounts, taken out credit cards in my name, and was planning to sell my house. He'd stolen over $300,000. When I confronted him, Kyle smiled. "Grandma, you're confused. You have dementia. Everyone knows it. The doctors confirmed it. If you make accusations, people will just think your memory is failing." That's when I realized Kyle had been telling my entire family I had dementia. My sister, my cousins, even my neighbors. Everyone believed I was losing my mind because Kyle had been planning that story for months. "Your doctor visits show cognitive decline," Kyle said, showing me medical records I'd never seen. "You can't remember conversations. You repeat yourself. The family knows you need help managing money. That's why they support me having power of attorney." Kyle had forged medical records too, but Kyle made one critical mistake. Before I retired 15 years ago, I spent 35 years as a criminal prosecutor specializing in financial fraud and elder abuse. I'd sent dozens of con artists to prison for exactly what Kyle was doing to me. I knew how to catch him. I didn't confront Kyle again. Instead, I started documenting everything. I installed hidden cameras in my house. I recorded every conversation. I kept detailed logs of every interaction, every statement Kyle made, every time he accessed my accounts. I also went to my real doctor, not the fake medical records Kyle had created. My doctor confirmed I had no dementia, no cognitive decline, no memory issues whatsoever. She provided written statements that I was mentally sharp and fully capable of managing my own affairs. Then I hired a forensic accountant to trace every dollar Kyle had stolen. The accountant discovered Kyle had transferred money to offshore accounts, purchased a sports car, taken trips to Las Vegas and Miami, and bought expensive watches and designer clothes. Kyle was living a luxury lifestyle on my money while telling everyone I was too confused to notice. I also discovered Kyle had a criminal record. 5 years ago, he'd been arrested for credit card fraud but avoided prison through a plea deal. He'd done this before. After 2 months of gathering evidence, I had everything I needed. Bank records showing unauthorized transfers, video recordings of Kyle admitting he controlled my accounts, forensic proof that the power of attorney was forged, medical documentation proving I had no dementia. I contacted the district attorney's office. The prosecutor was a former colleague from my years in the DA's office. "Margaret, this is textbook elder financial abuse. We can prosecute." Kyle was arrested at my house during one of his weekly visits. He was taking my checkbook when police walked in. "Kyle Chen, you're under arrest for elder abuse, grand theft, forgery, and fraud." Kyle's face went white. "Grandma, tell them this is a mistake. You're confused." "I'm not confused, Kyle. I'm a retired prosecutor who spent 35 years catching people like you. I've documented everything you've stolen for the past 2 months. You're going to prison. The trial lasted 3 weeks. The evidence was overwhelming. The prosecutor presented bank records showing Kyle had stolen $300,000. The forensic accountant traced the money to Kyle's personal accounts, his car purchase, his trips, his shopping sprees. I testified about how Kyle had forged the power of attorney, created fake medical records, and told my family I had dementia to cover his theft. Mrs. Chen, the prosecutor asked, "Why did you wait 2 months before reporting this?" "Because I'm a prosecutor. I know how to build an airtight case. I documented every theft, every lie, every forged document. I wanted to make sure Kyle couldn't talk his way out of this." Kyle's lawyer tried to claim I actually did have memory problems and was confused about Kyle's role. But my doctor testified I was mentally sharp. The forensic evidence proved the power of attorney was forged. The hidden camera footage showed Kyle admitting he controlled my money without my permission. The jury convicted Kyle on all counts. The judge sentenced him to 12 years in state prison. "Mr. Chen, you systematically stole from your elderly grandmother while exploiting her trust and grief over losing your mother. You forged documents, created false medical records, and manipulated your family into believing she was incompetent. You are a predator who targeted the most vulnerable person in your life. 12 years in state prison." Kyle is now 18 months into his sentence. He tried to appeal, claiming I'd entrapped him. The appeal was denied. The court ordered Kyle to repay every dollar he stole. His car was seized and sold. His offshore accounts were frozen and returned to me. I recovered about $240,000 of the $300,000 he took. The $60,000 I didn't recover was spent on vacations and luxury items Kyle can't return. But I'll get monthly payments from Kyle's prison wages until he repays it all. My family was shocked when they learned the truth. My sister apologized for believing Kyle's lies about my mental state. "Margaret, we had no idea he was manipulating us. We thought we were helping protect you." That's what con artists do. They create a narrative that makes everyone complicit in the victim's isolation. I've since reconnected with my family. They visit regularly, and now they know I'm the same sharp prosecutor I've always been. I also started working with a local senior advocacy organization. I teach workshops on recognizing financial exploitation and protecting yourself from family theft. Elder financial abuse usually comes from family members, I tell audiences. Children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, they have access and trust. They think elderly means vulnerable. I'm 78, and I spent 35 years prosecuting fraud. Kyle learned that age doesn't mean helpless. People sometimes ask if I feel guilty about sending my own grandson to prison. The answer is no. Kyle stole $300,000 from me. He forged documents, lied to my family, and tried to make everyone believe I was losing my mind. He deserves every year of that sentence. I'm 78 years old. I'm a widow who lost her daughter to cancer and then her grandson to greed. But I'm also a retired prosecutor who knows how to catch criminals, even when they're family. Kyle thought my age and grief made me an easy target. He learned that 35 years of prosecuting con artists doesn't retire at 78. The end.